Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to talk about a real-time project, how to build a simple application and then implement with a database model and the application component architecture, all those things. Let's jump in. Understanding of the use case. So in this particular case, an example application we are considering a bank application. So ideally, a person who would like to you know establish a bank account, what he has to do is he is supposed to carry certain personal details document like his national identity proof and some deposit amount along with him, and any other evidence like a passport number and all such details, so that once they visit, so bank officer will give a form where the person has to fill in all the required like first name, last name, date of birth, and passport number or national identity proof, what kind of occupation the person is doing, all those things. That would be treated as the customer's profile. So that once the bank has the customer profile, then they can establish the account. Without customer profile information, bank cannot act whether the person is a genuine person or a fake person. All those scrutinities will be verified then and there with original documents. So that's the reason customer profile is very much important to create. Let's consider that customer profile has been created. Now we wanted to establish the account number for that customer who has been enrolled with the bank. So customer can have one bank account or multiple bank accounts with the same branch or with the different branches. So that based on the availability of the transaction limitations, the customer should be aware of all those things. They will give the information. How to design an application? This is the basic application, and so customer can do any kind of a transactions, say depositing some money or withdrawing some money, whatever the transactions. So these are all the use case considerations, how to design an application, and correspondingly the data has to be stored into the database. So for that also we supposed to think at the database model, how flexible my database model, so the data can go ahead and store via the application. So to demonstrate with these things, so you supposed to know the relationship between a customer, bank, account, branch, all these things. So we will see in the uh, upcoming slides all those details. In this particular use case, I am not considering security because this is the application. I want to present to the people how to create a real application, okay, and how to expose the RESTful APIs wherein the development team can able to test the exposed RESTful endpoints. So whenever we are thinking of a application development, we have to choose the technology stack and a lot of considerations. I would say security, deployment environments like a dev stage, QA, or production, and so forth. Right now, I am not going to consider all those things, and functional requirements, non-functional requirements, all those things. Okay. So whenever we are going to build an application, we're supposed to look at a technology stack which can support better ways in terms of the development activities. Okay, so here I have decided to go with a reactive programming model which supports database objects model as well as the web model, so that it can be deployed even on the lightweight hardware. We don't need to really, because reactive means whenever there is a usage that comes into light, until then it won't be consumed any resources. That is the advantage. And also it is a asynchronous based process. That means there is no blocking kind of actions like the standard approach if we go and implement it. That is the additional advantage when we are going with the reactive. So, and also we supposed to consider the transactions whenever we are building any banking kind of very much important transaction. How much deposit has been done, how much withdrawal has been done, successfully recorded, so that there won't be any issues to the bank. Otherwise, customer can go and file a complaint with the the appropriate government bodies making fraud by the bank like that, and they have to do the penalty payments to the customer. So for that reason, we're supposed to go with the handling the transactions effectively, all those by fulfilling the ACID compliant. ACID means atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So whenever there is a transaction is happening, ensure that the data is accurate. So we use in this particular case for development Spring Web Flex. This is a web development in a reactive approach, and we use R2DBC. That means reactive relational database connectivity. Whenever we are dealing with any of the backend database objects, we don't want any blocking kind of a protocols. We wanted to go with a non-blocking protocol which can sustain. The library is also quite different from the the blocking protocols. So if you look at Spring Web and with the REST controllers, those are the containers which runs on the servlet, and it is a blocking based protocols. And if you use the standard JPA, it is a blocking protocol. So we are not using here, we are using everything reactive. So we go with the IONA project reactor. That is a fundamental. This is my simple application with the component style architecture. If you look at it, this is horizontally I have represented here. So I am running a Spring Boot is the microservice based which runs on the 10,000 port, and I have a Spring with routes. The WebFlex provides a routes mechanism for exposing the APIs outside world. So this is the API we are using which supports the reactive programming model, and then this will use handler. Handler is another component which can be called by the routes. So which kind of a operation you are going to perform, you have to inform to the handler. Handler will make use of Spring service and Spring transaction. As I said, we cannot directly apply transactions on the repository. So we have to apply on the service whenever we are exposing to the handler. So we will enable the service component as two parts. One is the real service, the other one is transaction service. So here we integrate both. And then Spring repository, we use the reactive repositories, not the proactive, like a Spring JPA, that is proactive or blocking protocols. So that will give you more flexibility, like one-to-many mapping, many-to-many mapping, or many-to-one mapping. But here this has to be achieved slightly different. It is not flexible way provided libraries like blocking protocols of the database programming model as well. And we are considering in this case H2 is the database server engine which we are hosting. It is a Java based server. It is easy to start. I have given all the instructions in the readme.md file. You can see it. So here I am specifying locally running H2 DB server. There are instructions given. You can definitely follow that and then understand. And you will bring up the microservice with the Spring Boot app port 10,000. Testing scenarios could be, web browser and web client API. So here I'm going to use the web client API for all the testing scenarios if you wanted, or few we can use web browser for testing, like getting the details. We can use the browser level. Okay, so I'm using that is also a web reactive client. So the prerequisites are very important to understand. So you should have, GDK 18 or higher, because I have compiled with Java 18, because Spring Boot 3x, which I'm using, it mandates Java 17 is the baseline. So I have higher version on it. So you can use any of your interested tool, either IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse, and H2 database server. Yeah, I just tell you in the part 2 session how to start the server and all. And Spring Web Flex for building the routes and handlers part. Along with that, the Spring services and repositories. So as I said, to establish the database connections, I am using Spring Data R2. So the R2 means reactive relational database connectivity, that is stands for, and Maven for building in case if you want, and internet connectivity to download the required libraries. The intended audience, any of the Java developers who has already experience, they can understand better, and architects who are interested to know it. So this is a README file where I just took the portion of the content. So I have the following, services: bank branch service, which is hosting three types of REST. Get all the branch details, get branch by a specific branch and full details of it, and creating a branch using a REST endpoint. So, and then account. So getting all the accounts, get account by ID, create the account. So customer, get all customers, get customer by ID, create a customer via post. We cannot create the customers using get operation of HTTP verb. And account transaction, say if you are performing any kind of a deposit or withdrawal, you wanted to know the services. So we can use this and we can get to know the details of those. So this is all about, these are the, API service, which is having three each of it. We can see it. Now let's try to understand the underlying stories, how it is. So as I said, we wanted first the customer details, which should be independently operable on the storage side. So I'm defining a customer ID and the customer details like first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, occupation, blah, 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 all the details about a customer. Without customer profile, we cannot able to know who is the customer, right? That is how it is operating. So we build a customer identifier with the personal details. And then I have a master data where bank operates. For example, say bank has a branch name, branch city, branch state, branch country, right? All these details required to have the branch related information. So we will have to have a master data of this. And we will have account. So whenever I'm going to create account, what I need, I should know who is the customer. So that is the reason, if you look at here, account ID or account number, both are the same. So it is a primary key which I have defined it. And now if you look at it, there is a foreign key which is referencing with customer table. That means if I'm opening an account number, there should be a customer available which should match with the customer table. That is what it is all representing. Without customer ID, I cannot create an account. So that is not permitted as per the application. And say account is being opening. Which branch I wanted to open it? Say I have 100 branches across India. So I belong to a specific location. Is that branch is available or not? I supposed to map it. So that's how we can control whether we call it as a home branch or non-home branch. If home branch, you have more flexibility. If it's a non-home branch, then you don't have more flexibility. Like that, banking services can be operable. And you will create other details like type of the customer, and account status, active, dormant, closed, or different statuses, and whatever about the account related. Okay, like initial balance, all those attributes you can see it. And now the customer account has been created. Then what happens? Then customer does transactions, right? So which branch, how much withdrawn, deposited, all those things required to handle it. That's why you see it. There is a foreign key relation with account ID and the branch ID. So this I did not put another link here or there. So this is also required to establish another foreign link with the branch ID where the transaction has been performed. So that's how this model works. Okay. So this is the underlying model. For example, this is a realistic data which I took it. So I have a customer, for example, this is the customer ID which I generated. These are the details like first name, middle name, last name, city, mobile number, occupation, date of birth. I'm using just on the creation of the date. And now if you look at the customer, see if you look at here, same customer ID can have two different accounts, but two different branches. That's the key where we are doing all this relationship mapping with the data model. So this is the account number operating by this branch. This is the account number operating by this branch. So and how much is the opening balance when customer is doing opening an account? There should be some initial balance to be paying to the bank so that to open an account. And customer open when it was opened. We wanted to ensure that including the timestamp. That's the reason we have to capture. And if there is any transaction happened, so when happened, what happened, those details can be captured here. If you look at it, this is the time where there is a transaction happened on this account number, this is the transaction number, and how it has been operated through a cash withdrawal, some amount. This is the amount withdrawn. So previous balance was somewhere else of 501. Now that has been deducted and updated here. So likewise, we wanted to see the entire. So if you look at here, same customer belong to two accounts but two different branches. So that's how you can establish different accounts with the same customer ID basis. So these are the real-time project related links. This is a part one, and thank you for listening this video. I'm going to demonstrate part two with a real hands-on with the code base. How do you build an application? Like it, share it, subscribe it. Thanks for watching my video once again. Okay, I'll come up with the part two with the real hands-on this bank application demonstration.